Hi viewer, welcome back, and it's been quite a long year. It's almost 2 weeks remaining and then we'll be done with 2020. Most people have had a lot. It's been tragic, and really being alive at this point is a blessing in itself. And today on the Tai Show, we want to discuss the topic unlearning and relearning in the PBL way. PBL is project-based learning, and we have the newest doctor in town who's going to help us discuss this subject matter. And as such, our guest is Dr. Ngacha Njeri. So Dr. Ngacha Njeri, welcome.
Thank you.
And we're very glad to have you here.
Yeah.
And we are climaxing the show for this year with such a special guest who just became a doctor a week ago. And today we have insights, beautiful insights to take us through. So before we begin, it's been quite a tough year for very many people, not only in Kenya or other countrywide. And as I've already stated, that being alive in itself is enough, or it's a blessing. So how have you been? How's been your year? So far, so good.
Thank you so much. And as you've said, my name is Dr. Ngacha Njeri, and I've been working in my foundation for the last a couple of years. So what has been happening due to COVID-19 gave me ample time to invest more of my time working around the projects in the slums of Nairobi. And we've been working with several partners from America and from South Africa and an organization called AHF. So we've been running COVID-related interventions within the slums. So for me, the break gave me some time to do some personal initiatives and also to work around creativity.
COVID opened up a way and you're like, we can do this.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Dr. Ngacha Njeri has been a teacher. Remember, the Tai Show is all about unpacking the intersection between technology, education, and innovation. And at one point or another, he's been a teacher, and we'd want him to tell us his experience as a teacher, specifically because he's been a teacher and he's already undergone PBL. Did he employ PBL in his teaching career, or how did it go about?
Thank you so much. First of all, it's good to understand what PBL is, and just from it, then we can derive some key lessons and also some key insights, because PBL is about applied thinking and learning. So you apply your thinking as you learn, as opposed to the traditional way of learning. And when I joined PBL a couple of months ago, that was in 2019, around October, of course I was a PhD candidate. And for me, it provided an array of ideas on how to go about business and how to go about learning. And also as a part-time lecturer at the University of Nairobi in the Faculty of School of Open and Distance Learning, I borrowed heavily on how we can improve learning and also how we can instill discipline as we learn and as we transition from the traditional way of learning to now the new way of doing things.
Previously, you've joined the PBL fellowship at the University of Nairobi.
Yeah.
So how has been your experience there, and what was the motivation to join it? Was it because you are a lecturer, or was it because you wanted to try out something new?
Not really. I just got excited. I went through the PBL website and I thought this is where I belong, because I saw an opportunity that many could not see, and I realized that if I venture or I enroll with the PBL folks or the teams, I might get something to improve on what I'm doing. So though it was challenging at first, because it is like you are unlearning and the traditional way of doing things, and here you are being introduced to another way of doing things,
a whole new perspective.
A whole new perspectives, and the paradigms were totally different. So for me, for the first couple of months, I was feeling like, am I like arranging all what my mind has been arranging for a couple of years? And I would ask myself whether am I losing so much energy into this PBL way, or I go back to my tradition. Of course, you know, nobody wants change. So
you literally experienced the whole paradigm shift
of how
things were working.
It was, because every other time you'd think the traditional way and then you're taken back. No, problem-based learning is totally different from the traditional way of learning. So for the couple of months, I think for like 3 months or so, I was feeling as if I'm getting mentally drained. But with time, when it sank now deep down into my nerves and in my neurons, I realized that this is the way to go. But initially, I had thought even of dropping out, because I thought I might be writing off all what my mind has been accustomed to think and work out.
You thought of dropping off? That can discourage someone who wants to begin.
Yeah, not really discouraging, but you have to be prepared, because you don't have to come with an informed way of thinking. You have to be open-minded, because in problem-based learning, you see there are these 4 skills we are being told of: collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity. But in traditional way of learning, those 4 skills are not involved.
Yeah.
So in PBL, they intermarry. It's not like one must outride the other. It's not like it's mutually exclusive, but they are collaborative. They work hand in hand. And you see, with traditional learning, it's more about convergent way of thinking. But with PBL, it's divergent way of thinking. Yeah. So it's like you are facing an open field, and then it's up to you now to put your hands on as you learn. Yes.
Okay. So if I were to join PBL, will you tell me it's worth a deal? Go ahead.
Yes, PBL, it's a worth a deal, because one, with the paradigm shifting, nowadays we are talking of netizens from citizens. We used to have citizens, now we are talking of netizens. We are having online platforms as opposed to the old platforms used to have the blackboards and whatnot. We are having new technological tools which can bring people on board, like the Miro, the IBM, and you see all those are platforms which can bring people together working from different setups. So PBL is the way to go, because at the end of the day, there is no way you can work in isolation.
Did you hear that? PBL is the way to go. We need to collaborate.
Yes.
It enhances teamwork, right?
Teamwork, exactly.
So it's the way to go. And in the fellowship, you had a mixture of master's students, undergraduate and PhD, right?
Yes.
So how did you feel?
First of all, I think during the orientation, we were taken through what is expected from us. So we never came with our titles or our status quo to the PBL learning, because at the end of the day, remember, this is a concept that no one had initially. So we are coming in as new individuals trying to learn and apply. And I like it when the teams from the PBL took us through the Tuckman's way of forming, norming, the way we form teams, and also the way we adjourn. So when we were taken through those preliminary stages, at least we were prepared for bigger and better engagements. So for me, I think and I feel those sessions were very much critical for us to find the right footing. If then they were not there, I'm trying to think, could be we would have gotten lost, or maybe gotten lost between the cracks. But the preliminary sessions, the one-on-one and engagements on how to form teams, I think it prepared us for a more engaging and a better way of doing things. So that's what created an environment of us feeling at home and us feeling like, yes, we can do it.
You guys worked in teams, right? Because
Yes,
of course PBL in itself is promoting teamwork.
Yes.
So the teams were just mixed up, whether you're an undergrad, whether you are masters or a PhD. It was a total mix-up.
It was a total mix-up, and I thank the tutors who are taking us through, because even the way the teams were formed, it was not like what do I want to say? The way teams were formed, it was informed on how we are interacting. So there was a procedure, and there were some steps which were initiated by the tutors for us now to get the team working. So how we started off and how the tutors took us through, initially we ended up having teams which initially nobody would have thought that those teams would have worked, or
something good would have come out of them.
And we ended up having different mix of students within each and every team.
just to be sensitive? Was gender considered?
I guess so, because even within our team, it was well considered. Okay. I think there was that bit of trying to look into it, that there is no matters to do with discriminating one gender.
Okay.
Yes.
Now. Our topic today is unlearning and then relearning.
Sure.
So in your process in the fellowship, we'll begin with the unlearning bit.
Yes.
What do you think? Did you unlearn?
Yes, I unlearned all what I was taught.
Everything, like literally everything.
Literally everything, because when I joined as a PhD candidate, I came with an informed mind that I'm almost going to graduate. But here I'm being introduced to a new way of doing things and a new way of thinking. And talking of innovation, we are talking of not doing the same way. Like what Albert Einstein said, you cannot create solutions to the prevailing problems with the old mindset that created the same problem. So you have,
do we need to change?
You have to change
the mindset.
The mindset. So there is no way the same mind that created a certain challenge, it's the same mind that will create the solution. No, it has to change. So here we are introduced to a new ways of doing things. And for me, as a student, as a lecturer, and also as my own boss in my own organization, I picked the lessons and I used them even to elevate my other bit of my dream. So for sure, I think I felt that I really needed that. And I'm just trying to imagine myself being a doctor without PBL knowledge. What kind of a doctor I would be?
I don't know. What do you think?
I think I have so much to offer, and I'm now seeing the world in a different way. So my belief system and the way I look at the world is totally different. And so I feel like I have much to offer with the changing ways of doing things, and even with the changing world.
I want to use your words against you. You've said that you cannot use the same mind that created a problem to solve the, or rather to bring up a solution. So I wanted to understand more about it, like this same mind. For example, what problem has my mind caused that I can't use the same mind to solve?
Good. For instance, we are talking of going to school to get employed or going to school to earn money. But in college or wherever you are learning, nobody has ever taught you how to make money or even how to use money. But you're given knowledge, then you go and utilize that knowledge either to employ yourself or to employ others or to come up with a solution. We are talking of unemployment, and statistics are very clear that unemployment rate is this. And yet you're learning it in school, you're graduating there, and you're told this is the rate of unemployment. And for sure, you pick your documents and you go outside there to look for the same employment, and you are told the rate of,
you know there is unemployment.
Yes, the statistics are very clear. You are being told that this number of graduates are being churned out by universities every year, but the government can only absorb 15%. So do you want to assume that you are the lucky 15% to be absorbed into the employment, or you are the unlucky 85 who will toil and boil? So I think with problem-based learning is for you to understand there is a problem, and then you start working around that problem to create,
maybe now I create an employment because I already know the government is not absorbing.
So I'm thinking the problem-based learning, you're being introduced with a problem so that you can provide a solution. But the other way around, you're being told there is a problem, and yet you're getting out to that problem and expecting that you are the one who is lucky enough not to be affected by that problem. So you have to change the mindset.
So without PBL, it's like you're riding on the faith of I'm among the lucky people. But with PBL, you're not riding on the faith of the lucky things or lucky charms. You're there knowing a solution must be found. You're there knowing like it's a lot in your mind. Unemployment is a problem. And how am I going about it? That's really thoughtful. I wish I knew. I also ride on those of 15% who are lucky.
Okay. then you're lucky enough if you're within the 15%.
No, that's riding on the faith that I'll be among the 15.
Okay. Oh, the faith.
Riding on that faith. If
okay.
only I'd experienced the PBL before, then I'll be like, I should go out knowing
sure
I'm among the 85%.
True.
So that is what we need to unlearn. And of course, after unlearning, you start learning. And that's what we call relearning. So in the fellowship, what have you relearned?
One, I think through the steps of innovations or the problem-based learning, the way we were taken through how to, first of all, empathize, you define the problem. After that, of course, you ideate, then prototyping, you test, and then again you repeat. You see, those stages help someone to understand how to go around a challenge, a given challenge. So with that provided notion of how to navigate around and to use your mind given the circumstances surrounding you, then you are well placed to address any given challenge, whether it's unemployment, the challenges of burgeoning population for young people, either in the slums or in the upmarket settings. So I think, and for me, after I learned on how to go about it, and by the way, I joined PBL when I was just at the peak doing my data analysis, and I thought I can introduce the way I was doing my thesis, only to be told this one will not apply here.
Don't work this
it doesn't work this way. And you see, I'm at the peak of doing the data analysis. I've already worked around my proposal, I'm doing the analysis and now the reporting so that I can get the solution. But what I liked most is it's the bit of the empathy, because the empathy, you sit down either with the community or with a challenge, and then you navigate around. And through empathy, you learn a lot, because let me just ask you a question. Like in Turkana, if you go there right now, you'll see people are suffering, but you'll find happy families there. How do they navigate around the challenges? Because you just come, you're using your own ways of doing things, but you have not like sat down with them and realized that they also have their better part of life,
survival.
So that that bit of empathy, I like it because it introduced a new concept into me, ethnographic way of doing things, or
ethnographic way.
Yes, because
break
now
it down for us.
Ethnographic is where you sit down with the challenge or with the team, and then you don't come up with your informed way of doing things, but your mind is open. Your mind is open to new ideas and new challenges, and your mind is open to anything can happen. So if anything can happen, then you're sure of we can get to that bit, we call it the aha moment or the eureka moment or the epiphany, where just change can happen anytime. You see, like the eureka, the Archimedes principle, how he managed to come up with, like, we can get the volume of irregular objects by immersing them into the eureka can, or how Isaac Newton came up with the idea that the force that affects the apple, it's the same force that affects the moon when it's orbiting around the earth. You see, all those are eureka moments. But before you immerse yourself into such, somebody will not have learned about. How many people saw an apple fall? Of course, many. But who tried to ask himself, why did that apple fall? And how did it fall?
And why?
And why? You see, the what, the how, and why, it informs the problem-based learning. So if you don't ask yourself why, what, and how, then, so that's why I like, first of all, that bit of empathizing or empathy.
That brings ethnographic
studies. Yes, yeah.
I would want to ask some of the impacts PBL has had on your projects as in PhD, but I can tell one impact is ethnographic studies, the newest vocabulary in town.
Perfect.
But before we go for a break, any other impact that PBL put on your project, your PhD projects, apart from the ethnographic study?
I think the communication bit, because the tutors took us through how to express ourselves or even how to communicate to the world, because the moment you open your mouth and talk, you are telling the world the kind of person you are. So communication again is very critical when you're working on an innovation, because remember, you're not just working on your own. You have to communicate within the team, amongst the team members, and you have to collaborate. So when you understand how to communicate and pass the message and make sure that the message is well understood and well taken, or you're in a position to understand the feedback, then you're well placed even to improve on whatever you're working on, or either to scale up on what you're working on. And I thank PBL because it brought a new team from outside our cultural context, and we learn so much. And even the exposure, and also learning what others are doing. And even now the non-state actors, like we had partners coming from different agencies, and would learn so much from them. So I think for me, and what I felt and what I gained is that I was able now to have that cyclic way of thinking, not just a
unilateral way.
But that circular way of looking at things.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to go for a break, and right after the break we will continue with this discussion. You can ask your questions on this live YouTube. Just under this video you can ask your questions, drop your comments on Facebook, on Twitter. The hashtag is Bafunde, or rather hashtag is enhancing learning at Bafunde. You need to know more about ethnographic learning, cyclic thinking, communication. See you after the break.
Are you a lecturer? Are you a tutor? Are you an instructor? Do you wish to make learning efficient and effective? You can now reach out to your learners online using technology. Introducing Bafunde. Bafunde supports trainers and educators in organizations, universities and colleges to prepare and deliver digital content to boost interactions and learning. Visit our website at bafunde.com and register now. Bafunde, enhancing learning. Are you a lecturer? Are you a tutor? Are you an instructor? Do you wish to make learning efficient and effective? You can now reach out to your learners online using technology. Introducing Bafunde. Bafunde supports trainers and educators in organizations, universities and colleges to prepare and deliver digital content to boost interactions and learning. Visit our website at bafunde.com and register now. Bafunde, enhancing learning.
Welcome back, and we'll pick it from where we left it. Having understood some of the things that enabled Dr. Ngacha to be a doctor actually by finishing his project after obviously joining the PBL fellowship, and the last thing he stated was cyclical thinking, like all round, not just one way thinking. So at this point I tend to think that Dr. Ngacha is already vast-minded on his view of things, now that he doesn't view them from just one eye, one lens. He probably views them from 1, 2, 3 and 10 lenses. So besides that, I want to ask, what else has the PBL program changed in terms of your learning methodologies?
Yeah, thank you. And what I would wish to state is that you see, innovation must be centered or premised on several platforms or paradigms. And what I learned is that for you to come up with any given solution to a given challenge, you must first of all try to understand and calm down to that level. And PBL provided that bit of operating from the original platform and getting into the reality of, like, how do you navigate around a certain given challenge so that you provide the most needed solution through innovative ways, not just providing a solution through an abstract or just the generic way of doing things. And I think PBL, from my standpoint of view, is one of the inventions that needs to be taken even a little bit, even to a lower level, so that people understand and integrate within its concept, so that by the time now you are learning, you understand even the other way of doing things. One of the tutors then posed a question: if you are given an opportunity to cook ugali without a cooking stick, how would you go about it? It never occurred to our mind that you can cook ugali without a cooking stick. Then ask yourself, how? Of course, ugali can get cooked, but then how would you navigate around that? Imagine you don't have a cooking stick. And those kind of thinking ignited some bits of expanding our worldview and how we look at things, and even how to do things. Just assume that we are no longer going to use fuel-driven or fossil-driven cars. Then there is electric cars. That change, would it come with some better ideas or better opportunities, or would you just stick to
Your former?
the former? So I think it opened up our minds to see that things can change. And for sure, COVID came.
Change is inevitable.
Then COVID, for me, I was prepared by PBL and nothing got to me by surprise. So as much as could be, it got others by surprise. For me, I think PBL came to prepare me how to face COVID-19 pandemic. And I think it provided a better way on how to go around certain circumstances. Not just sitting, wailing, moaning, and groaning, but providing a solution.
I wanted to take a shift to lower levels, high school and primary, and ask, do you think, in your opinion, obviously, that PBL should be incorporated to lower level students?
My opinion is a big yes, because because at the end of the day, first of all, if you can integrate the way now we are talking of curriculum based learning with the PBL concept of trying to think about solving problems at early stages, not instilling the idea of after you go to school life will be better. Why can't we introduce a concept of life will not be better? If life will not be better, then what is expected of you? Because I think that bit of telling everyone that you will be a better person by studying this, I think
is the key to life.
I think also it's one way of trying to erode our dreams and our innovations. Because if you are provided with an opportunity and told life might not get better, so think around those lines as you proceed with your education. Of course, it's not meant to discourage anyone, but it's meant to create within your mind that things might take a different direction. And that's why we have many people with high level education, but you'll find them in the illicit liquor dens, drinking changa or whatever kind of alcohol they want to take, as much as it's cheap. But once you listen to them, they are dreamers, they are innovators, they are great people, but nobody introduced to them that bit of problem-based learning. Because even from the abbreviation, the word problem already speak volumes. Problem, not good problem, not good learning, or PBL or GPL, problem-based learning. good-based learning. So ours is like feel-good learning, but this one introduces a challenge. So you start thinking about there is a problem.
If I were to use a common Swahili term, is it to say that problem-based learning introduces vitu kwa ground vile ziko?
Exactly, vitu kwa ground vile ziko. I mean, like now, this is the reality.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You are told, soma uandikwe kazi, but it doesn't talk of, you can get the education, because again, the function of education is not for you to understand or to speak, but the function of education is to expand your mind. So if you're learning the PBL, it should expand your mind, your horizons.
You think out of the box.
Yeah, you think outside the box, and also you see the things the way they are. If you are living in an informal settlement, you understand that there is that which makes people live there, but you cannot just come and say people should not live in the informal settlements. They should live in upmarket. But go to those informal settlements. We have great minds there. They have not been tapped. We have great potential there. It has not been tapped. But also we have people there who are very happy and who can do things better. So I think for me, if we introduce it that way, then we are prone to come up with a generation that is more innovative and a generation that is more into the problems and solving those problems.
PBL introduces reality as things are on the ground, and putting it that had we introduced it in early stages, the world would be maybe a better place, or maybe a place with more innovators, because I think we cannot talk about PBL as in the end result of PBL is innovation.
True.
So having said we can introduce it to younger people, and how do we change them? Like right now, if we were to start incorporating that change, how do we change the mindset? Because you remember, as we were beginning this conversation, we said that the same mindset that created the problem cannot be the same mindset to solve it. So we need to change the mindset. How easy or how hard is it to change the mindset of the younger kids as well as their tutors, or rather their teachers?
Great. And I would wish, as I handle that question, I just try to introduce the principles of innovation, because at the end of the day, any innovation must be guided by some certain principles.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest principle is the design with the user. When you're designing with the user, already you are engaging those who are affected. So, and then I come back to what I had introduced earlier on, the ethnographic way of doing things, because you are sitting down with the person or the people who are already affected. And that's why we are talking of human-centered approach. So it's human-centered to provide a solution to a challenge that is affecting human beings. So already by saying we are designing with the user, then there is an aspect of sustainability. Because if I own up a certain project, yes, I'm a project, I did PhD in project planning and management. I can talk about projects from morning to evening. If you want people to own up any given project, whether it's any given project, even TVs or whatever kind of project, first of all, they have to own up. Then if they own up, there is the bit of sustainability. You will not just get people being trained and then the gains are eroded by them moving to other places. So number two, there is understanding the ecosystem. The ecosystem is where you are. How is the environment? How can you improve the ecosystem? Or what is in the ecosystem that you can work around it and improve on what you're working in or on. So I think, first of all, if you understand the ecosystem, then your innovation will be more grounded. It will have more weight. Then number three, there is now the design for scale. At least there is that bit of versatility. It can expand or you can take it to another level, because you can design an abstract thing. Then maybe if you engage other folks, you keep on expanding. So you keep on scaling it. And now finally, then there is the reuse and improve. So you see, those four principles of innovation are well much endowed with PBL. And PBL and innovation, they are brothers and sisters. Or in other ways, they can also be husband and wife. Or it's a family.
One.
Or it's one. Yeah, so for me, PBL innovation is one.
A last question: while you were joining PBL, you were already a PhD student. Did you think, because I'm sure there are projects that you did courtesy of the PBL and then courtesy of your PhD projects?
True.
Did you feel the strain?
Let me tell you, if I had not joined PBL, I would not have graduated, because my mind was like fashioned in a certain way. But when I joined and PBL removed every other ways of thinking and doing things, I saw myself a different person. And I can tell you that is also a secret, because if in a class of 60 only 2 graduates, then ask yourself what informed them to graduate. There must be something which was different from others. And I think somebody said insanity is doing something over and over
again
and expecting a different result.
Result.
So for me, I can attest and I can tell you without fear of contradiction that joining PBL accelerated my journey to graduate.
It was one of the
because
best
I
things.
moved out of the box and I went my way to find out how I can graduate and get my PhD. And I think and I feel if I had not joined PBL, then I could be still toiling within the university premises looking on how to graduate. So I had to move out of the box and I took my different route, and it really worked. And I didn't know that I just needed PBL to graduate. So that one, I can say it's really needed for people to now move from what they are or what they think they are to what is the ideal way of doing things.
There's no strain. Totally, there's no strain. So you managed. In fact, you realize PBL accelerated doctors' graduation. Our topic has been unlearning and relearning the PBL way, and we are almost on the climax of this discussion. And as such, Dr. Ngacha, what will be your parting shot regarding the whole PBL thing, the whole learning and unlearning? What would you want to inspire someone outside there who wants to do PhD and be like you?
Thank you. What I would wish to say or state is that sometimes we don't understand the meaning of something until we lose it. And when we joined PBL and I shared with some folks and they thought, perhaps I have so much time, that's why I want to do PBL. But they didn't understand that if you learn something and if your mind is engineered in a certain way, you tend also to become versatile. And those opportunities were there. The advertisements of those opportunities to go and seek these fellowships, they were there. But how many people do take advantage of them? So for me, what I would wish to state and say is that if the learning institutions can pick the PBL way of doing things and try to introduce a new paradigms of thinking and doing things, I'm sure we can even accelerate the transition and retention status of any given institution. And if the government is struggling to make sure there is 100% transition, then I think it's a high time that they introduce PBL concept even at the lower levels of learning as we proceed to the upper levels of learning. And by the way, not just even in learning institution, because PBL is not just for the academia. PBL is even for those who are not even in school, those even who are at those ghettos or slums. If you introduce to them this concept, they are well endowed to use the skills they have and even improve on some of the products even the governments are struggling to improve, like the Big Four agenda, the Vision 2030, the Constitution 2010, and even the BBI.
needs PBL.
It needs PBL. Yes. The design thinking way.
BBI needs a design thinking way. This wraps it up, and I hope in one way or another we can all adjust to the PBL way or move to the PBL way so that we can be able to solve problems with workable solutions, so that you don't have to be on the mindset of those 15% riding on luck, but moving with the 85% that, no, this is the problem and we actually need a perfect solution. A quote I love says that the illiteracy of the 21st century will not be for those who cannot read and write, but it will be for those who are not able to learn and learn and relearn, and choose where you want to be in the next coming year, whether you want to be on the illiteracy or on the literacy level. Thank you very much, dear viewer. Thank you very much, Doc, for joining us, and congratulations on this big achievement. Merry Christmas and have a happy new year. See you next year as we get to have more beautiful insights.
Thank you.
Are you a lecturer? Are you a tutor? Are you an instructor? Do you wish to make learning efficient and effective? You can now reach out to your learners online using technology. Introducing Bafunde. Bafunde supports trainers and educators in organizations, universities and colleges to prepare and deliver digital content to boost interactions and learning. Visit our website at bafunde.com and register now. Bafunde, enhancing learning.